Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today's kind of an interesting day. This is actually the first time I have gone to the store and bought dimensional lumber in, I guess, over 2 years, since early 2020, which is kind of a big deal. You know, as most of you know, lumber prices started going crazy in 2020 after COVID hit, and then they were driven up and down by all kinds of market forces and trends in 21 and 22. And you know, lumber just got priced way out of sight for most people. That's really what led to me finally getting my own sawmill in October, November of 2020. I mean, I just was doing the math, and you know, buying a mill was going to be cheaper. Producing my own lumber was going to be cheaper than continuing to buy store-bought lumber for projects. So it's been a long time since I went to the store and bought lumber. This is the first project where I really needed some pressure treated lumber, so you know, I can't really do that here at home with a sawmill. There's some shortcuts you can use for certain applications, but for this use I really needed pressure treated lumber, so I went out and bought it. And you know, the first thing I realized, well, it's still kind of expensive. This particular batch of lumber, all I have here is a 10-foot 2x8 and then 3 8-foot 2x4s. Then ended up costing $38, which is still kind of high. So what I did was I went back and looked at some of my old receipts for the previous times I bought these sizes of lumber, which was January 2020, and worked out that back then this $38 purchase would have only cost $26. So we're still up pretty high in terms of lumber pricing. But then I was able to go back and look at some historical prices on some of the lumber company websites. And let's see, May 21 would have been a high. The same batch of lumber that cost $38 today would have cost me $69. So we're definitely down from some of the highs. It's gotten better, but it's really still not back to normal. That's the first problem. I'll talk about another problem in a second. The other thing I thought was interesting was the price of OSB, because in a lot of my barn and shed projects, a 4x8 sheet of 7/16 OSB is kind of a staple. We use it for roofing, sometimes for wall sheathing. The last time I had bought some of that was January of 2020. It was $11 a sheet. It went up to a high of $49 a sheet in mid 2021. Now it's come back down. It's at $18 a sheet, so definitely quite a bit down from the high, but still way up from, you know, what normal pricing was in 2020. Now the interesting thing is there's actually a lumber index you can track. It's part of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and I'll flash up a screenshot of that and give you a link. It's almost like following a stock price or a commodity index, but it's specific to board foot lumber. It doesn't always apply the same to dimensional lumber or plywood, but it's a very good general indication of lumber prices, and it's something you might want to check out just based on interest, whether you're going to be buying lumber or planning projects, or even if you're just a sawmill owner and you want to know how much money you're saving by producing your own lumber. And if you look at that lumber index, in January of 2020 it was at $392 per board foot for some standard lumber type of measurement, and I don't actually know what that is. I'll look it up and see if I can figure that out. So it went from $392 in January of 2020 to a high of $1,686 in May 21. There was another high in February of 22 of $1,440. Right now it's down to $583, so it's come back down. Again, it's not all the way back down, but you know, it turns out if I look at historical prices that I paid for store-bought lumber and this lumber index that you can track, there's a pretty good correlation. There's always a lag, you know, between inventory and what the index shows, but overall that index is a really good indication of the prices you would have been paying for dimensional lumber, plywood, OSB, and other wood-based building materials over the years. So check that out, just, you know, as a point of general interest. Again, if you're a sawmill owner, if you're planning projects, things like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, beyond the pricing, which I still think is nuts, you know, if I didn't need treated wood, I could produce this for far less money here on my sawmill at home. But besides pricing, quality is the big issue. which I kind of forgot about over the last couple of years, because when I produce my own sawmill, I'm basically using trees that grow slowly. I make most of my lumber out of southern yellow pine, and the trees have grown pretty slowly over the past 30 years or so. And they've got very tight rings, very nice quality wood. I can really select the logs and the trees and the cuts and the procedures I want to optimize what I'm getting off of that sawmill. And so I think I've been kind of spoiled by that over the past couple of years. And I'll flash up some video of some of the lumber I've taken pictures of or filmed over the years, just because I was so impressed with the quality of it. This store-bought lumber, it is junk in comparison. I mean, if you look at the grain, it's very wide grain. This is clearly fast-growing wood, probably in some sort of a timber lot where they're pushing both the species and how they grow the wood and when they harvest it to get fast-growing wood. So you got really wide grain, which is bad. There's very poor alignment of the grain going down the length of the board. And so, that's going to promote warping. That's going to promote twisting as the lumber dries, or if it's, out in the weather doing different things. It's going to make this lumber very unstable. That's lousy. And then the last thing is, when I look at some of the finished or surfaced edges of this board, they're not even straight. They can't even get that right in a lumber mill. And it just seems odd to me that I can produce rough sawn lumber here on my home sawmill, on my woodland mill's HM122, which really only cost, I don't know, about $3,000, $3,500 all said and done. That's rough sawn wood. I'm not dressing it, I'm not planing it or anything. And that is far higher quality, far straighter, far smoother than this dressed lumber, dimensional lumber, that we're getting commercially from a lumber yard, from large production sawmills. And so that's just a crazy thing. And I'm always looking for topics to make a video on, and I wasn't looking to make a video about this. Really, I was just gonna come home, saw up this wood, put it together, go on with my project. But after looking at the lumber and looking at the milling quality and the grain and the waviness in the grain going down the length of the board, I'm like, man, I got to make a video about this, because this stuff is really just junk. It's still a little bit overpriced, and to me, this is just one more reason why you can do so much better with a home sawmill, like many of us have. So that's going to be it for today. I'm going to start measuring and cutting this wood and putting my project together. Thanks for watching.